Welcome in all to the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. I'm Danny, just an ordinary gentleman who also happens to be your host. When we last spoke, I was going over the top 5 blends that I was most interested in adding to the cellar, and you found out why it might be a terrible idea to allow an inexperienced gentleman such as myself to select for you blends using nothing but folklore and my affinity for tin art. In that video, I promised to tell you the story of an anomalous afternoon. And don't worry, we're still going to tell that story. But being as that it's the eve of both Father's Day and the kickoff to Pipe Week. If you haven't heard about Pipe Week yet, it's an event put together by the fine folks behind the Briar Report. There's going to be a live awards show next Saturday, hosted by Mr. Flatcap Piper himself. So if you haven't got in on the festivities yet, go over there and find everybody. I'll leave some information in the comment section below. But anyway, in honor of the kickoff of that event, I figured we could tell the story of an unexpected trip to the local brick and mortar. I went into town this morning to run a few errands and pick up a few different things, and I decided I'd stop by the pipe shop, which is slowly becoming one of my favorite pastimes. I walked in, and there were quite a few gentlemen in there. They were sitting in the lounge enjoying the U.S. Open and a few cigars. One of them was sitting over there on the couch, and he was smoking an amber stem spigot. And I decided that I would ask him for his recommendations. And he kind of asked me what sort of things I enjoy, and I explained to him that I'm so new to this that I don't really have preferences yet. And we got on talking about the different ways that tobaccos come: ribbon cuts and rough cuts and plugs and cakes, and we got to flakes. And I mentioned that I'd never enjoyed a flake. And he said, "Well, we have to get you a flake then." So he went over to the shelf and selected some of Cornell and Deal's After Hours flake. So we took it back out into the lounge, and I did one of these numbers. I opened it up and I said, and I guess this drew the attention of everybody sitting in the lounge because they all kind of looked at me and they said, "So what do you smell? What sort of note you get?" And I said, "I don't know. It's sweet and it's kind of got something going on in the background." I was I don't know if I was nervous that everybody was looking at me, or the fact that I'm so inexperienced. I don't know if I just couldn't process what I was smelling. So we kind of passed the tin amongst one another, and they all did the same and started kind of explaining it to me. And they were like, "Well, there's rum. You get that very, very upfront. A lot of rum. And then you get this kind of caramely, almost molasses thing in the background. And there's a little bit of a fruity kind of note to it, almost stone fruit, or maybe raisin or plum." And as they sort of explained it, I realized that what I was smelling was rum cake. Not any rum cake, though, specifically the one you have after a ham dinner on Christmas, which I think is quite fitting because this was tinned on 12/29 of 22. So I get this kind of Christmassy rum cake vibe from it. Anyway, the tin art would kind of lead you to a speakeasy sort of vibe. So does the description. And if I put myself in that mindset, I do kind of get the place. It reminds me of this place. I went here on a trip to Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's a place called Goodfellas Pizza, and there's a speakeasy in the basement. Anyway, we go in and we order our pizza, and I got this gigantic New York slice and a breadstick that had to be at least 2 feet long. And I kind of leaned over the counter and I said to the guy working there, I said, "I'm told there's a speakeasy in the basement." And he just pointed at a set of steps. And the only way you would really even know this place was there is there's a sign in front of the steps that says, "No one under 21 admitted." Anyway, I've told a few people in the community, but I have mobility issues. And I was using my upright walker at the time, and I'm looking at a set of steps, 2 flights. And I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to get down this set of steps. Anyway, they seen me and kind of me thinking it through, trying to figure out how I was going to get down these steps. And they called the manager He walked out. He said, "You trying to get to the speakeasy in the basement?" I said, "I am." And he said, "Right this way, sir." So he takes me outside around to the service entrance ramps. And I walk down these ramps and they unlock for me the cage and brings me in through the side door. And I walk in to this. And they get me a nice corner booth. It's an all red leather booth. And I sat down and they kind of hand to me this giant New York slice and this giant breadstick and all my sauces. And I'm sitting there and they said, "Well, what can we get you to drink, sir?" And I ordered some E.H. Taylor small batch. And if I was allowed to do so, which of course, more frequently than not, you're not allowed to do so. But if I was allowed to have my pipe, some after hours flake and some nice big band music would definitely have fit the environment. So that's kind of my initial impressions of after hours flake. Just one bowl and the 10 note. But I will be doing a full review of this as well as a 10 note and a review of Haunted Bookshop, which is going to be our second 10 review. Mostly because the tinning date on this is 2/2 of 22. So I felt like it had to be the second review. Also today we picked up some of Lane's 1Q just because everybody mentions it all of the time. It's kind of like that base point that de facto for bulk. They're like, "Hey, this is the Lane 1Q, Lane 1Q. You've got to try it out." So if you've enjoyed your time here and you'd like to watch some reviews of not only After Hours Flake, but Haunted Bookshop, or my thoughts on Lane 1Q, or the Cellar project we've got going on, or if you want to hear that story that I mentioned in the beginning, A Anomalous Afternoon, it will be coming up, so you can hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the comment section what you think of After Hours Flake, if you've tried it before, or, well, Haunted Bookshop, or Lane 1, or anything. I'll also take some fantastic recommendations in the comment section. That would be wonderful if you could tell me new blends that I could try out that you're also enjoying. So until then, I'm Danny. This is the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen, and we'll see you on the next one.